It's probably one of the coolest Beatle guitars ever.
This was a pale blue. Well, there was a pair of them. I decided to paint it.
Psychedelic Stratocaster.
Think of all the great songs. I'm the Walrus, My Sweet Lord, Free as a Bird. It's just incredible.
It was also All You Need Is Love. The Woman was most noticeable. I started playing slide on it around about 1970.
Yeah, I think it is maybe the most underrated iconic Beatles guitar.
And it's called Rocky.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Gear There and Everywhere. I'm here with Sam, Dom, Paul, and Michael. And today we're going to be talking about one of the most iconic Beatles guitars, George Harrison's Fender Sonic Blue Strat Rocky.
Well,
Do we have any quick intro? What's your favorite use of it?
I have one, actually.
I have one too.
Free as a bird.
Fixing a hole is great.
That's what I was going to say, is Fixing a Hole. That's probably my number one.
I would say it's on my number one favorite Beatles song, Drive My Car. Iconic rhythm / lead guitar part. You can't beat it.
And it's an iconic guitar. Look at the paint job on the thing. It's really cool. Which is what we're going to get into, because this is a Rocky episode.
We've got a lot of stuff to get into.
So this is a parts caster. It's all like Fender licensed parts, premium parts. This is a Warmoth body, Music Craft AAA flame maple neck. Fender Electronics, but it's all 61 spec. So you got your 7 1/4 inch radius on the fingerboard, 6230 fret wire, and single line Kluson Deluxe tuners. And got Grimwoods.
Nice.
Recognize
Is
that?
is Dom the only one with a flame neck?
No, we have another one.
Well-
Giga Chad over there on the bottom.
So-
there.
Oh, really? Yeah.
My
what do you got?
Fender Strat is the same exact one Dom has, because for a while I was looking for a Strat and I didn't know which one to get. And I really was going to settle for a Japanese early 90s Sonic Blue. I think those are probably one of the better made ones out of all the Fenders. But I didn't really like the fading aspect behind it. They all fade to seafoam. So I really was going to get Sam's. I was dead set on getting a Journeyman. I was hunting. At one point, I had the money for that thing too. But I don't know, I just didn't get it. It's just with too much money. The cheapest I could find was like 35, 34, 32. It was the best. I think actually maybe it was more than that. I forget now. Thankfully, Dom and Grant Gerlach both helped me build this. And we got in a good group chat, and it's all basically exactly what Dom has. All his specs, same everything. It's great. Music Craft neck, the Warmoth body. I absolutely love it.
I do want to credit Grant, though, for kind of masterminding both of them. Because without him, yeah.
And how much did it cost you to make that one?
Mine
What do
was
you say,
$100 more than I think Dom's, just because I got like one step above on the flame neck. I think mine's total was like $1,600.
Yeah, mine was about 15.
Not too bad.
And it's one of the best playing guitars I have.
And Sam, talk about your fancy one.
Yeah, I indulged in this one, but it was one of my dream guitars was Sonic Blue like this, and in 2015 I got a American Vintage reissue one, and when it arrived in the box, it was green, even though I ordered a Sonic Blue. That's because of the yellowing of the nitro finish. It must have been hanging on a wall in the shop with the light pouring on it for like a year straight or something. And I tried to make it work, put on a maple neck on it, so it was kind of like a surf green 50s look. And I really liked it, but this was always the dream one, so I eventually sold that. It is on some covers on my channel. and then used that money to buy the nice Journeyman, which is kind of a beat-up custom shop relic. And I modded it a little bit to look more like George's with the mint green guard, and it has a sanded down back of the neck. Very nice, heavy Strat.
How did you feel about the fact that it was reliced like that? Because I always looked at those and I thought like, no, I want one to look like theirs look like in the photos. I don't want all these little paint chips coming off.
It wasn't like my first choice to have it relicked, but it's not too crazy, and it just looks so much like the Beatle one, other than the checking and dents and stuff.
I think that's a bigger debate than the strings when it comes to anything else about relic versus non-relic. I see a lot of people debating about if they want.
A lot of people hate on the relicking.
Yeah.
It's like tearing your jeans up.
I like
what do you call it? Pre-ripped jeans.
Hey, Paul, now that I'm looking at it, does do the pickups on yours look more yellow than the pickguard?
Yeah, they're like a cream color.
Yeah,
and
it's
the
pissing me
pickguard's
off.
like white.
It's really pissing me off now the more I look at it.
This is a 2007 classic player, Fender Stratocaster. And I'm glad you brought it up because I had a Q&A on my Instagram the other day. And one of the best questions was, how do I get any decent Beatles guitars on a budget? And this is a prime example. This was $700. Found it on Reverb. One of the more affordable of the Beatle guitars, along with the Casino, I guess.
Yours is Mexican made?
Yeah, and I think it was so cheap because you can see there's some paint chipping. It has flats on it though, so Paul wants to throw it in a bonfire.
Ryan, what do you have?
Oh, I don't have one. I have
Is that your Squire?
shout out to my friend Jason, whose guitar this actually is. This is Squire Strat. I don't know what year it is. I didn't even bother cutting this E string I replaced. But I don't know. People say it has a nice burst on it. They like it.
It does.
Yeah, it is a nice guitar.
Sam, what can you tell us about the history?
The Fender Strat was introduced in 1954 and looked like this. It was sunburst and had a maple neck, and Bakelite pickups often would kind of wear like Buddy Holly's. And that was, Buddy Holly was a huge influence on the Beatles, and you can see him here with his 54, 55 Strat, I believe. Essentially, from 54 up until 1959, it was the same look, sunburst with a maple neck, but right here we have a 1959 Strat. In about middle of 1959, they introduced this rosewood fingerboard, and they eventually transitioned to the mint green pickguard as opposed to the white one like this. So George's and John's were both in 1961. So it was essentially the spec of a 1959 in almost every way. There are a few things that happen in 62, 63. Post 62, you get the 12 fret dots move closer together. 64, 65, you start to introduce the white pickguards again. And also around that time, you get the white inlaid dots. George's and John's were 61, so they actually had more what's considered clay dots, which are a little darker, and they, is this a good example? You can see they're a little bit more orangey clay looking.
That's a beautiful guitar. Look at that.
Yeah.
So maybe with that, I'll start to get into the custom colors, because John and George's were this sonic blue. And I can't stress how much custom colors were super rare. Introducing the Telly in 1951, they only had really two factory colors. They had blonde and they had the sunburst. But basically, if you wanted a special looking Fender at that time, you could get one, you could custom order it. The only issue is that Fender didn't have paints readily available. They didn't have orderable custom colors. So what they would do is actually go to DuPont or GM Motors had a paint, custom color paint for their cars. If you imagine it was the 50s, you have like pink Cadillacs, et cetera, et cetera. So there are some examples I found of 50s really cool colors that were custom ordered. This is Aztec Gold. And we have a Tahitian Coral.
I love that color.
This is Gene Vincent's guitarist, Howard Reed, ordered a factory custom black Strat from 1955. And this is actually the first ever black Stratocaster made. And Joe Bonamassa, of course, owns it now.
This is Howard Reed's 55 factory black Stratocaster.
Looking at your picture, Sam, I'm pretty disappointed you missed one key player back then that really influenced a lot of people with the Strats.
Who's that?
Mr. Hank Marvin.
Oh, well, hold on there, Giga Chad.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
Yeah.
The first ever Stratocaster, as far as we know, to arrive in England, because it was very rare, was Hank Marvin had a sort of Dakota red with gold hardware Strat, and this was the Shadow's famous guitar. So yeah, there was a custom color Strat arriving on British shores in the early 60s, which could have influenced George and John.
Anyway, we got back to Liverpool and all the groups that were doing this sort of Shadows type of stuff.
There was another red, not Strat, but Fender that was very popular too. This is James Burton with Ricky Nelson. He had I think it's just a normal Telly in the 50s that he actually spray painted red himself. And this is not smudge from the photo. That's actually his bad paint job. James Burton did a bad job.
So he's got white on the headstock and white on the fretboard too.
But he was a big influence on John and George.
So I was curious, as a lay Stratocaster fan, what the word Stratocaster means. There was an airplane at the time called a Stratocruiser, a passenger jet that may have inspired the actual name. There's also the stratosphere, part of the atmosphere, and the space race was heating up.
I think it comes from the fact that the first guitar they made was the Broadcaster. And that's just a word, like broadcast. And then they just kept the caster part of it on everything else, I guess.
Yeah,
I thought it was a stratosphere.
Yeah, like Paul said, it's kind of space themed. Like Broadcaster is like it was the age of radio. Telecaster, the television began.
Right. Stratocaster, atmosphere.
You know,
space,
I read a comment once that said, when the Stratocaster first came out, we couldn't believe what we were seeing. It looked like this guitar had come straight from space. Retro.
And then you have in the late 50s like the Flying V and the Explorer, these weird looking guitars.
The old Thunderbird.
Yeah, right.
To the people that are in the cars, back in the late 50s and stuff, all the cars kind of look, they were getting kind of space ageist. They had a lot of
with like Sputnik and the space race, everything was getting a space theme to it.
Who do you think is the most influential Strat player that ever existed? I know, because I was just thought about it. I was just thinking about it randomly, and I already got my answer.
Hendrix.
I know who it is. I don't agree.
No?
Mr. Gilly.
David Gilmour. Okay. Yeah.
I think that, because you said Blackie, and then it just popped in my head. I was like, oh man, that black Strat.
The black Strat.
That is like the most iconic, I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, the black Strat. At $3,300,000, this is your moment. Sold.
Who's each of your guys' most influential Strat player, if not
Like
George?
personally?
Probably Buddy Holly or David Gilmour.
If it's a personal preference, I would either say Stevie Ray Vaughan or Buddy Holly.
Eric Clapton.
Yeah,
slow hand. Good stuff. Oh, Dire Straits too. That's a big one.
Mark Knopfler.
Yep. Sultans of Swing.
The guy who immediately comes to mind, just because I've seen the video so much, is what's his name? Ralph Ellis. I think it's Ralph Ellis.
Oh yeah.
Who is the rhythm guitar player? Well, I guess rhythm or lead, whatever, in the Swingin' Blue Jeans.
We're
going
famous
over
you
time
had to
now.
look up his name.
Yeah, well, I just knew he was in
this
Swingin' Blue
is.
Jeans. Here,
Were there
well,
no Hollies available, Ryan?
The Hollies
There were
never
no
had a Strat.
Oh, bummer.
Oh, it's got
Looks like
the
a
wide
59?
spacing too. That's early.
Sonic Blue Pants.
I mean, late.
Yeah.
That's late.
You can see the mint green already is kind of faded on the pickguard.
Yeah,
See, I think that looks white there, though.
it looks a little bit mint green. I've just seen this video so many times. I think about it a lot. Looks great.
When I was 13, 14, I used to be at the back of the class trying to draw guitars. Big cello cutaway guitars with F-holes, little solid ones with pointy cutaways and rounded cutaways. And, I was totally into guitars.
And I found out some guy had a Strat for sale, and I arranged that I was going to go first thing the next morning and buy it. And a fella who was the guitar player in the band Ringo was in, called Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, he found out about it too, and he got up earlier and went and got it. By the time I got there, it had gone. I was so disappointed. It scarred me for the rest of my life. I didn't like the guitar sound I had, and it was a Vox amp and a Gretsch guitar. It was, in those days, it was early days, and you were lucky to have anything. I could have had square ones and round ones and fur ones. And we sent our roadie out, Mal.
Yeah, so the first photo we have, we're pretty sure this is John's actual Strat, is the Christmas 64 shows.
It's too bad these pictures are black and white because that guitar could be basically any color. It's hard to tell.
Well, that's
black
not
and
really
white.
true. I mean, it has to be a custom color, right?
Olympic white.
Or Olympic white.
The spacing is wide at the 12th fret. I mean, it seems, I would imagine it is.
I think it's Sonic Blue. So let's talk Help. Obviously, Ticket to Ride, I believe, was the first song they tackled that whole year.
There are two Strat guitar parts on Ticket to Ride, John's rhythm, and then that single drone note. So
I believe that was a John overdub
That was John,
because George overdubbed the volume pedal swell. Actually, that was probably on Strat, though.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
That thing.
So that might have been Rocky's debut. Gonna Lose That Girl. We've talked about this. I think we can say Rocky probably made it onto it, right?
Yep.
On
We
the solo.
concluded George was playing the solo in Rocky. So we know that Mal bought two Sonic Blue Strats and one of them was Rocky.
Excuse me, White Cliffs of Dover?
Can we tell the difference?
Thank you.
What,
Well,
do we
the
know
Grimwood sticker on the back.
My love don't give me presents.
John always, I know it sounds stupid, but he usually has a strap in the front, it looked like to me. And you can see the fat pad right there. That's the fat pad running
I'll just
across
pull
it.
up the other photos.
This is the fat pad section of our podcast.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, because it's skinny. He has a skinny, narrow strap, and then he has the fatter shoulder pad.
Turn me on when I get lonely. People tell me that she's only fooling. I know she isn't.
Rocky is special in so many ways. The sonic blue, the maple, bird's eye maple on the back of the neck.
It's too bad because I don't think we really ever see the back of John's neck.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't know what John's has. I don't think. But we are talking about George's guitar. So.
According to Grant, it was just a plain back.
Oh, I have got
Another girl.
Because
have
John on Strat, but no.
Oh yeah, that's right. John on the rhythm.
She's sweeter than all the girls.
Help, no.
Yeah, that's him on Tennessee and with George on the...
How do we not know that's not the descending guitar line?
I think it sounds perfect with the tenny.
Yeah, there's no way.
It's absolutely
There's
the Tennessean.
No way, it's
gotta
a
be the
Strat.
tenny, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to record it. I'll prove you guys wrong. You're all wrong.
Outnumbered, Paul.
All right,
Outnumbered.
Paul, get out of here.
It's only love. What do you...
Sort of up in the air.
Well, there are those choppy rhythm parts that are, I think, certainly a Strat.
I think that's John on his Strat, probably, right?
Yeah.
Tell me what you see is John on a Strat. We have George Martin's notes. George on the Euro.
If you let me take your heart.
So, besides that, on Help, we do have some outtakes. If You Got Trouble, which is Rocky on the solo. We also forgot That Means a Lot. That Means a Lot, I think we actually had George Martin's notes, and it was John on Strat, George on classical.
All right, guys, time for some Rubber Soul. That's absolutely Rocky on the neck pickup. And that lick was stolen from Otis Redding. By the way, this song is incredible live.
That's the girl what she wanted to be. She said, baby, can't you see? I wanna be famous, star of the screen, but you could do something in between. Maybe you can drive my car.
Yeah, and while we're there, we might as well mention the word because it's like the same guitar, clearly.
The same thing.
When it got sort of contemporary, as it were, even if it was contemporary influenced, I think Rubber Soul was about when it started happening.
They were becoming more and more productive, and the work they were giving me was much more interesting. They were finding new frontiers all the time. And Rubber Soul was an indication of the way things were going to go. It's one of my favorite albums. I think it's a great album.
That was my favorite, at that time. I think that was the best one we'd made. I mean, we certainly knew we were making a good album then.
Nowhere, man, can you see me at all?
You Won't See Me is George on Strat, isn't it?
I would assume it's George. I assume John's on the
tambourine.
Yeah.
At least Beatles ebooks, which is somewhat accurate. He just gives John the tambourine on that one.
Yeah. Ian MacDonald said it was George on lead guitar for You Won't See Me. And then Nowhere Man, of course, is John and George both on Strat. One of the best solos ever.
Our whole attitude was changing. We'd grown up a little. I think Grass was really influential in a lot of our changes.
The direction was just changing away from the sort of thank you girl of the poppy stuff, the early stuff, From Me to You, She Loves You. And I think, there came a point where we thought, well, we've done enough of that. We can branch out a little bit into songs that are a little bit more surreal, a little bit more entertaining.
There's a lot of Strat in this 65 era, which I really like. It's part of the reason it's kind of my favorite era. So we missed Think For Yourself, which is George on Strat, for sure.
The rhythm. Yep.
We just have to have a go of it, you see.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
It could be there and it couldn't.
Could be where?
There. Or it couldn't. Pooh, and I stink too. I'm waiting for somebody to say something about it.
It's that anti-odorant you use.
It isn't.
It is.
Cynthia licked it clean before we left.
Let me tell you. It's that deodorant you're using.
Here's to a prosperous
Deodorant. It's that great big deodorant. It's great big deodorant.
All right.
Keep quiet.
What goes on? Actually, people have debated if John played a Strat or a 325, but George was most likely on the Tennessean, I believe.
You play a Strat for John's part on your cover.
I did, but I don't know. Ryan, do you want to talk about Wait? Because Wait was recorded during the Help sessions.
Yeah, Wait's kind of a mess because they overdub stuff. And there's at least 4 guitar tracks on that one?
They overdubbed during Rubber Soul as well, right?
Right,
it wasn't just recorded
Yeah,
during
it was.
Help.
They did something in June, I think, with it, and then they hung on to it. And maybe they thought it was finished, and then they just didn't use it.
Doesn't sound like a Tennessean to me, though. It's probably Strats or 325.
Yeah, but neither does Yes It Is.
I know, you can't get over that one.
I can't get over that.
Wait till I come back to your side.
I feel as though you ought to know.
Yeah, so I don't really know what to make of Wait, but given that there's 4 guitar tracks on it, Rocky's got to be in there somewhere.
I've always thought it was all Strat, but it's possible it's 325 on the Help stuff. I don't know. In my life, I actually heard some studio chatter where John says, "Oh, these Fenders are so heavy."
This is so heavy too. These Fenders are so heavy. These Fenders are so heavy.
So I think they both used Sonic Blue Strats. Michael did that for his cover, and it was great.
The LP's called Rubber Soul, and the song, which is sung by our guitarist George, is called If I Needed Someone.
The next one is If I Needed Someone, which it probably has Strat on it, but isn't that just John?
Yeah, just John.
Run for Your Life is just a sort of throwaway song of mine that I never thought much of, but was always a favorite of George's.
You guys think the solo is probably Rocky, right?
100%, yeah.
I think Rocky's on it because I don't think George is doing that slide on the Tennessean.
Run for Your Life?
Verses. Yeah.
That's Paul on the Casino.
No.
Boy.
No way.
I know. I honestly have no idea. I love stirring shit with you guys.
Damn it, Paul.
And I guess 12-bar original is obviously.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely Strat.
Day Tripper probably in there somewhere. Rocky
Now,
is, yeah.
I've been thinking recently that John may have played a Strat on that.
Maybe. I don't know.
At least in the where it modulates to B in the solo.
The volume pedal swell part could be
no,
Strat.
that, but also down. That sounds to me like the middle position on a Strat.
Are you saying it's the rhythm for the entire performance, John's rhythm guitar part?
Yeah, but also that part where it modulates the solo.
It's never sounded like a 325 to me.
Yeah.
It's like more acoustic sounding.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Rubber Soul, there's a little change, but Revolver, it started to become really us.
We were just loving the fact that what we were doing was progressing.
Taxman, absolutely.
Just bridge pickup on a Strat.
These are photos from Abbey Road during Revolver. Is that right? Or is this the UK
that's right.
tour?
I want to say this
was the storage closet at Abbey
April.
Road. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the black Strat. I believe, this case was probably Black or Rocky's case. It's hard to say, but the blonde Tolex could have been Rocky. Obviously, I Want to Tell You. I think that's the best example probably of a Strat because of the position 2.
I will actually dispute it was position 4. I recently tried it on a 3-position Strat, the jamming thing, and it actually made a difference. It sounds different than a 5-way selector.
Yeah, and modern Strats have a different thing, not to get into a whole technical thing, but with the middle pickup, they do reverse wound polarity on modern Strats, which gets rid of some of the humming, buzzing, but that can affect the tone a little bit. So if you played a vintage Strat, you might notice that it gets a little bit buzzier.
If you have a pickup that's too loud, put that pickup down. Get them so they all balance out. And again, you can it's easy as just going. You get 3 distinct sounds, and I use a 3-way, but I still have my in-between positions. And they all work together.
But those in-between tones are like really special.
They're a lot fuller, I guess.
Yes, 100%. So next up, we have potentially Here, There, and Everywhere.
I know I need never care.
this is a tune I was always very pleased with. You know, people say, which is your favorite tune of yours? Yeah. And I'm kind of tempted to say Yesterday because it arrived so magically. But I like this one. I like Here, There, and Everywhere.
But here's the kicker. In the Revolver box set, it claims that the lead guitar on the bridge was the 360-12.
To play that riff, and when you hear it isolated, and we'll play clips here, there is an open G string played before the riff as it starts on the B string. And if it were the 12, you would hear the octave. It's very clear there is no octave on that G string. So I was talking to Ryan about this. It's possible that for some reason that octave was detuned for some reason, which doesn't really make sense.
Or he just only hit the one string somehow.
Which makes even less sense.
It's very difficult to do that. On the contrary, it is very odd to have 4 Strat parts on one song. And I think Sam was the first person I ever saw who theorized that, and it sounds dead on the money.
You have to be insane enough to believe it first.
Next up is She Said, She Said. George wasn't playing Rocky on this song. We all know this was an SG. But the rhythm guitar. I do think the rhythm guitar was a Strat. On side 2, Good Day Sunshine.
Good day, sunshine.
Sam did a cover of this. It's a pretty hidden guitar part.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people claim there's just bass on it and there is no guitar. I can't remember what the Revolver box set said. I think that they claim there was just bass. But it kind of depends on how you look at the isolateds because AI, can do weird things. But it does sound like there's a Strat or some sort of rhythm guitar. Maybe it could have been John on rhythm.
And then we lie beneath the shady tree.
What about the backwards solos?
On I'm Only Sleeping and Tomorrow Never Knows?
Yeah.
I would guess Casino.
I would also guess Casino.
It feels like this is the Casino album, whereas Rubber Soul was the Strat album. That might just be superficial, but it kind of feels that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you say that, but we don't actually see George using a Casino in any photos for it.
That's
the only photo we see is the SG, I think.
Maybe you can pull up, or in the edit, we can put in the actual photos we have from Revolver, and they're limited. I think Paperback Writer, there are photos.
Yeah, the one photo we have...
Maybe?
Yeah, the one photo we have for George with the SG is an overdub on Paperback Writer.
And there are those strange pictures with the Burns new Sonic bass.
That's like the day before that.
Yeah.
So...
Mysterious.
We all started to get pretty fed up. George particularly was quite sort of vocal about that.
The general Beatlemania was no longer fun anymore. I was saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like this. We were just tired, It had been 4 years for us of legging around, screaming in this mania. We were tired. We needed a rest.
All right, well, we're making our way gradually toward Pepper.
So I just thought, if there was a band, what would be a mad name for it?
To me, we were just in the studio to make the next record, and he was going on about this idea of, some fictitious band.
It was basically Paul's idea to call Pepper. He came in and said, he had this song, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and he he was kind of identifying it with the band, the Beatles themselves.
Lonely Hearts Club Band. This is take one.
Yeah, Pepper's weird too because in terms of photos, we do see blue Strats, and we weren't really sure which was John's and which was George's, but I forget which episode was that where we discovered
It's like episode-
John was holding Rocky.
It's pretty early on, I think.
I mean, you can
It's
see a
worth it.
sticker, I guess.
Zoom in.
Yeah, you really can. You really can see a sticker.
All right.
I mean, no, I think you can see the sticker there.
Yeah, that's it right there. Yeah.
So we determined it's hard to see, but that little the Grimwoods logo you can sort of make out. I don't know if it's even this photo specifically, but
No, that's the one.
That's it, yeah.
That's all we
Yep.
got to work with.
And the strap, too.
So that is John playing Rocky.
Yeah, so we sort of already have skipped over. There's a single that's been released at this point. I don't know what we see George carrying into. There's the video of them all walking into the studio in '66.
I've just been sitting round. Getting bored? No, getting fat.
Do you think that in the new year that you're going to be going your own ways instead of being in a group?
No.
No? No, George, definitely not. What about another word?
I'll try. I've got my speech here. Thank you all for coming. Now, fuck off.
At least one of them has a guitar case. I think it's John's Casino.
John
But,
doesn't. He's not carrying a case. He's just holding the guitar.
Oh, that's right.
In the
That's
dead
right.
of
Yeah.
winter
Yeah,
in
it's
London.
terrible. Oh my god.
Yeah, but we don't see
most
a Fender
likely
case.
Most likely Rocky on that lead part.
Some people think that was Paul, maybe even.
That was a casino for sure. The middle position on the
Okay.
casino.
What about Penny Lane? There is some rhythm guitar on that.
Is there?
Very subtle, just chops like.
Yeah, I don't even know who that would be playing. We need a
it's-
deep dive on that one.
Ringo is really not a horseman. And, that's a whole lot of horse if you don't know what to do with it. And we rode these white horses. Oh, wait a minute. There's a brown one.
Well, I want to talk about my favorite Strat tone on Pepper, which is fixing a hole. It's such a good. Have you done that one, Sam?
I did, and it's weird because it's a very nasally tone. I'm curious how they got that. Maybe just from the console, George Martin pumped up the mids or something. I don't know how that would work. But yeah, it's fantastic sounding. What do you guys think about With a Little Help? I kind of believe that's Strat.
No,
The intro.
I think the intro and the guitar fill going into the second verse is a Strat. But I think the rhythm guitar underneath that is Casino. You listen to the isolated tracks, it sounds like the middle position on a Casino.
I thought the opposite for some reason. Like this part.
Yeah, that's a Strat. I'm fairly certain.
I might be wrong about this, but the guitar that plays that transitional riff between Pepper and With a Little Help leads into the rhythm guitar for the rest of the song. I think that's the
Does
same person. I think it does.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know. It might be Casino middle position. It is kind of a thicker sound than the Strat.
Mm-hmm. It's quacky.
It's quacky.
Not Strat
yeah.
quacky, but
But this is a different guitar from the choppy guitar doing the rhythm.
No,
Yeah.
it's the same one.
It's the same one.
I believe so. And we'll put in clips to show if I'm right or full of shit.
Well, I always thought that, that so bright sounding, but it could be the bridge pickup of a Casino.
And just to note, that was the guitar that some forum said was the Tenny.
What?
Really?
I think we referenced that during the Tennessee
After
episode.
they taped it back together from
It's insanity, yeah.
They have the picture of Sully taping together the door in Monsters Inc., putting the last piece in.
Sorry it took so long, pal. There was a lot of wood to go through.
Fuck off.
Lucy in the Sky. I think Perry proved us wrong with it being the Strat. I think that was a casino.
There's actually 2 electric guitar parts because there's the Indian sounding.
Okay.
I'm leaning Strat for that one though.
Yeah.
For which guitar?
The
Bends.
I think that's Strat.
Likewise.
Agreed.
We're the trippy cartoon Beatles. Wow, this LSD's all right.
Getting better.
Getting
all the
better.
time.
Strat.
It's got to be on there somewhere.
Yeah. I think it's those octave hits at the beginning and the fills during the verses.
Sam did the octaves on the Casino and nailed it. I did the octaves on the Strat for my cover and didn't get as close as he did. I don't know if there's also a little piano octave thing going on to enhance the brightness of that. I have no idea. That's such a layered track. So much stuff going on.
During '67, everybody started painting everything, and I decided to paint it. And I got some day-glow paints, which was quite a new invention in them days. And just sat up late one night and did it.
So this is the first time we ever
Fantastic
see
photo.
the paint job.
Now, is there any idea that he started painting it because he was like, oh, we're going to be on a worldwide broadcast?
I think he was just tripping balls.
He did say something about substances being involved.
I just felt like in love, but not with anything in particular or anybody, just with everything. Just everything was perfect.
Look at how different it appears. This is the first incarnation of what we know today as Rocky.
Yeah, and we'll get into this later, but there's no actual Rocky in here, and there's some other little things missing Dom will get into later, but
Yes.
it's not known as Rocky yet. It's just a psychedelic Stratocaster.
Yes.
Maybe we could
And
do
the-
a little collage now of like everything they were painting.
Ring, my friend. I said you call Dr. Robert. Day or night, he'll be there anytime at all. Dr. Robert. Dr. Robert, you're a new and better man. He helps you to understand. He does everything he can. Dr. Robert. If you're down, he'll pick you.
Was when the Fool did all of Cream's instruments, the bass 6 and the SG.
Oh yeah, I have a photo of that in here actually.
When did that happen?
That was sometime in '67 as well.
The Fool,
There it is.
they were very influenced. Them and Carl Ferris, who is the photographer who did Are You Experienced cover with the color filters. Jimi Hendrix decided to do that because Carl Ferris had previously done the Hollies album cover and he thought it was cool. But they were influenced by pre-Raphaelite art.
Yeah,
And
Donovan
you can see
used
that
an
right on
infrared thing for his album cover and talks about pre-Raphaelite being a thing. And we have Jack Bruce, his bass 6 was colored. And what's funny about that is they actually went over the fingerboard with paint and he said it was unusable. So that's when he switched to his SG bass.
But
it is funny how everything got depainted except Rocky. Like John's J160 got stripped. John's Casino, which he had painted the neck white, got stripped. Paul's bass got stripped, although much later in Get Back. Even Ringo's Love Drumhead got painted solid red for the Revolution promo. So everyone was ashamed by the Summer of Love, except George. He kept it going.
If only they had taken that awful paint job off of the original Hofner.
Oh, I like that. I like that refinish.
The
The
bright
Fender
orange.
three-tone. I like it.
The old sunburst finish, which was added later. It's different, you know, it's different.
I just wanted to point out before we move on that he's plugged into the normal channel of the Bassman, and there was a lot of, tape flanging added to it. He wasn't particularly proud of that solo. But this photo is really cool. It's a really good example of the bird's eye maple.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I think I'm going to be, ridiculed if I don't take the opportunity to point out that one of the Hollies was there.
Oh, Christ.
Mr. Graham Nash.
The Hollies did a song called All the World Is Love in February, 6 months earlier. The song sucks. It's like one of the worst ones they ever did.
If you're saying that, then it really sucks.
But I'm sure Graham Nash was pissed when he was like, this is just the song we wrote 6 months ago.
Well,
yeah.
In Donovan's book, I was just reading his memoir, and in the book, he keeps claiming that he did, he went electric before Dylan. He was talking about this before the Beatles, and his song, I don't know, it was like Sunny Goodge Street or something like that, said love, love, love in it.
I tell you his name is love, love, love. Love, love, love.
I feel like John was the worst plagiarist of the Beatles. Like the whole Come Together story, how he just played You Can't Catch Me, slightly repurposed.
You come on flat up, he got grooving up slowly, he got juju, I'm all he want, holy roller, he got. I'm saying, wait a minute. That's Chuck Berry's song. There's a Chuck Berry song, which is called You Can't Catch Me, which not only is like that. Hey, come on, flat. The opening line is, here come old flat top.
Yeah. And Paul was like, no, can't. We got to slow it down. That's way too similar.
Post-Duval was a racehorse, and I wish he were mine. He never drank water, he always drank wine.
Understand, I'd rather see you dead, little girl, than to be with another man. And a baby, come back.
Whatever happened to boy that I once knew?
Whatever happened to the life that we once knew?
If you look to your left, ladies and gentlemen, the view is not very inspiring. But if you look to your right.
So the next time we see Rocky, would be September 23rd, 1967, for the video shoot for I Am the Walrus. Now take a look at this color scheme here. Do you guys see how that yellow line is poking through? He hasn't filled in the green yet.
Wow. Good catch.
But we also don't have Go Cat Go. We don't have the Ohm symbol.
Beep Bopalula.
Beep Bopalula. And obviously, Clapton's head isn't here. That little...
Rocky isn't there.
Rocky isn't there.
Guy.
Yeah.
He didn't paint the entire back either. Some of it's still Sonic
Right.
Blue. Should we talk about Magical Mystery Tour then?
It was a very flimsy kind of thing. It was Paul's idea.
I'm not sure whether I want to take the blame for it, we were all in on it. But a lot of that stuff at that time could have been my ideas, because I was coming up with a lot of sort of concepts, like, Sgt. Pepper, and we could pretend to not be. And I'm not saying it was my album. Obviously, we all worked on all the stuff, but I was coming up with a lot of ideas.
There's that rhythm guitar part that became unearthed during the Red and Blue. I think Sam did it on Rocky, on the Strat, on your cover, right?
On Casino, actually, but I'm 50-50. I really don't have an opinion.
Baby You're a Rich Man is very mid-rangey, that lead guitar. I have no idea what that might be. What do you guys think?
I'm trying to remember what the guitar sounds like on that song.
It's like,
Can we play a clip?
That's a Strat.
Yeah, it sounds like Rocky.
That's a Strat.
Very nasally. That's a really cool guitar part.
Probably bridge pickup into a weird amp setting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard someone do that. Those are really cool guitars.
Flying's an interesting one, though.
I think that's absolutely a Strat with flat wounds. That is such a plunky,
It's all too much.
Yeah, it's all too much. People want us to do a whole episode on that lead guitar at the intro. I don't know if I want to make any claims yet, but probably not Rocky on that, because it's doing a bit of a feedback, which Rocky isn't going to do.
Yeah.
Someone's argued with me about that and said, well, Jimi Hendrix uses Strat and he got feedback. But
not a bad point.
I don't know.
Rocky remains unchanged. We see it in 1968 at the Jackie Lomax sessions in L.A.
Big time jump. Wow.
It remained unchanged. We don't really see it a whole lot during the White Album.
In, I guess, late May, they started recording.
But that's it. There's really nothing else.
Do you know what day this is?
I think this is like June 1st. It's like early June or late May. This is Revolution 1 rehearsals.
Okay.
So I don't know if this made it onto the record.
It's remained unchanged.
I believe Rocky does appear on some White Album songs. I would say Glass Onion is a possibility.
Yes, definitely.
Happiness is a Warm Gun, possibly.
Yeah.
Which part?
The main
stabs.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Revolution 1, it's possible because of those photos I showed, but I think that he probably overdubbed SG later on.
It was mostly SG and Lucy.
Yep.
Those tones are PAFs all the way. The next time we see it would be
Get Back.
Get Back.
For Twickenham, we don't see Rocky. So from January 2nd to January 10th or 14th or whatever, no Rocky. It's all Lucy, Les Paul, and the Switchmaster, actually.
This would be, I believe, January 26th. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, we don't see Rocky too much in the early Savile Row stuff, but by 25th, which I think this is 25th.
Is it? Okay.
They rehearse Let It Be, and you hear... Actually, if you go to the Let It Be box set and you listen to a Let It Be outtake that has Please Please Me, like Paul's teasing that was Rocky into Leslie, if you guys want to hear what that sounds like.
Come on, I only get 2 notes in this song.
Notice how the green has been filled in here.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday the 26th, we see it on the floor. Additional painting has not been done yet. The 27th, we see it sitting in a corner with still no additional painting. The 28th, we see the additional painting, which included the Rocky text on the top there, Eric Clapton's caricature, Go Cat Go, the Ohm symbol, and Bebop-A-Lula, which means now that guitar was done. So it must have been done sometime between the evening of the 27th and the early morning of the 28th.
Which I love because Get Back is so well documented, but there's still things we don't know. And I wish that Peter Jackson would just release everything.
Yeah.
You didn't know that.
Well, that about does it. I think for Abbey Road, there's not much to talk about except maybe the lost Here Comes the Sun solo. Might have been Strat.
Yes.
Cool solo. Any of you think it should have stayed?
Nope.
Nope.
Oh, come on, guys.
The Beatles were great editors. I think they always ended up making the right call with the final mixes.
It's a cool solo.
98% of the time. Cool idea, but they made the right call.
Yeah, I agree.
So after the Beatles breakup, George went on tour with Delaney and Bonnie and Clapton, and there's great footage from a show in Sweden, I believe, where he's using Rocky and Lucy Les Paul, and Clapton is playing a Black Beauty that appears on All Things Must Pass. So it's pretty cool. For certain numbers, George chooses Rocky, other ones no. But yeah, that's probably the first time we see Rocky being played live. Delaney himself was given the Rosewood Telly and uses it at that concert. So it's the first and only time, I believe, when you have 3 Beatle guitars being played at the same time.
What was the third one?
Lucy, because Clapton, I believe, is playing Lucy
That's
in
right,
a certain part. Well, maybe the black one, but you have Rocky, Rosewood, and Lucy all on stage, which is absolutely insane.
We were on tour with Bonnie and Delaney. They came over to England, and George was a big fan. And one place we were, we had a piano in the dressing room. And the discussion was, how do you write a gospel song? So I went to the piano and started playing some gospel changes. And I don't know if it was Delaney or Bonnie, but one of them started saying, oh, my Lord.
Use on All Things Must Pass.
Yeah, so I want to talk about that. We don't know a lot about the guitars used on it. We know that Rocky was used on it, but was it only for slide, or did George have another Strat? Because later on in the 70s, what happened was Rocky became his main slide guitar. He talks about Ry Cooder influencing him to raise the action, get heavy strings.
I started playing slide on it around about 1969, 1970. And from a conversation with Ry Cooder, I realized it was better to jack the bridge up high and put some heavy gauge strings on. And then I found it was a much better sound.
What we don't know is what were his main guitars at the time. He had Lucy Les Paul, he had Rocky, and Clapton gave him some sort of 50s Strat around this time. And we have the Bangladesh mystery as well. So which Strat was used on Slide, and was it Rocky for everything? We don't know. But eventually, he has a 50s Sunburst Strat that becomes his standard tuning guitar, and then Rocky just stays open E Slide for the rest of the time. So there's a lot of, cool photos of Rocky during the 70s. We can just kind of quickly go through. Ding Dong music video. You have
Quite a
3 Beatle
trifecta
guitars
right there.
there. Yeah.
It's an immortal song.
His 12-string was in that one too, I believe, where he mocked himself.
The Rick 12-string, yeah.
When he's dressed up in his collarless suit and
It still fits. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
yeah,
And a Sgt. Pepper outfit, I believe, as well.
yeah.
Let's see, what else? Yeah, we have Dark Horse Tour.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing slide only.
What's that museum
very-
one? Okay, yeah, it's the Grammy Museum. Okay.
Yo, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Really good close-up recently. This is the real Rocky, right, Dom?
Yeah, it's the real one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been the late 2000s when the Rosewood Telly and his 360 were on display.
Oh, that's really cool.
That's Scotty
Who is-
Moore.
Who is that? And that's holding it.
That is
Is that the drummer for Elvis?
DJ Fontana, maybe? Yeah.
Might be.
And then we
I'll
have
look him up.
Joe Brown. This is a great photo in Friar Park.
That was DJ Fontana. I looked it up.
Oh, I love that photo. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
Guitar World, right? Or Guitar Magazine?
Yeah.
We got a lot of cool stuff. We got a black 50s Strat, 2 Sunburst 50s Strats. This is the famous one I was talking about.
The Dark Horse one, yeah. And
Yeah,
then
Rocky. We got an Ernie Ball something
That's
Sterling.
so cool. Yeah.
This is the harp tone that he used for Bangladesh. Casino.
It's like the
J160
best
on the
photo of the stripped casino, I think.
Yeah, the J160.
J160.
Long time ago when we was fab.
So he loved Rocky. There's I want to quickly play.
Here we go.
Here we go. So the Danny's app obviously had cool trivia about it, and then close-ups of Rocky, which we've already seen.
If Danny watches these videos,
please come on the show.
Please
Danny.
come on the show, and so we can
And
beg
invite
you
us
to
to the house, if possible.
bring us the app back.
Traveling here, everywhere, in every gear. Psychedelic Stratocaster.
So badass.
I love those
Absolutely
clips because
badass.
you can tell what a great guitarist he is. Because if I pick up a guitar cold, I'm not going to sound half as good as that. Like he was a natural guitarist.
Any road will take you there.
Take 2 would be better. I haven't actually, performed anything.
It's been yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning, while these deep dives are as comprehensive as we could be reasonably, we might be missing something. And on Cloud 9, there's a ton of slide stuff. Cheer Down, I think, has a slide solo.
Cheer Down, Cloud 9.
This Is Love.
This Is Love.
And I don't think we have pictures of those sessions, so it could be Rocky. I don't see why
Could be.
not.
Oh, well, he used Rocky as his main slide guitar from All Things Must Pass almost to the end of his life, but it was around that time of Cloud 9. He used like the Eric Clapton signature on Cloud 9, the song live in Japan. You see him with the red
one, yeah.
The red one. So it's hard to say when he moved on from Rocky or if he did.
Okay, so possibly Rocky throughout his solo career in the 80s. We are fairly certain that Rocky was played on Free as a Bird. I believe we have eyewitness testimony, and I can't remember from who.
I tried to find it in preparation for the episode. Someone has compiled all the footage we have from Free as a Bird, and it's basically 20 seconds of like Paul, George, and Ringo at the piano.
What we actually did was remake this song. I mean, even with chords and stuff, we changed chords.
Beautiful. Well, I vote for the easily suspended. What do you think, audience?
We changed arrangements, we added parts, and we wrote lyrics, and then we made the multi-track tape of this song, and then took John's voice and laid him into the track.
And that's it. And there's like a brief clip of Paul and George overdubbing the acoustic guitar part. But there is a slide solo. I don't know why it wouldn't be Rocky, right?
There's 15 hours worth of footage from those sessions. And we have all of 5 minutes.
Peter Jackson, save us.
Peter Jackson.
Give us the good shit.
Give us everything. Everything.
My sweet Lord.
It was in the concert for George. I forget who it was, but one of the guitarists was actually playing it on stage.
He also played. Yeah, he also played George's Fender Electric 12, the gold one, on If I Needed Someone. Yeah, it was played on My Sweet Lord for the slide solo on the concert for George. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
You'd think they would have kept the camera on it for longer.
I love that concert.
Oh, so good.
Maybe Concert for George was the last time it was used on stage. 2002.
So where is it now?
Danny has it. He took those photos and sitting in Friar Park, just waiting for us to Gear There and Everywhere do an episode there, you know?
We should get into the reissues that have been, and the replicas people have made.
The George Harrison Rocky Stratocaster features an alder body lovingly hand-painted with a replica of Harrison's famous psychedelic brushstrokes. Every last detail is captured, from the artwork on the pickguard and plastic parts to a replica decal on the back of the headstock from the original music store where the guitar was purchased.
They had released those in July of 2022, and they retailed for about 2,000 new, and right after they released, people began to mark them up to 4,000. They're back down to about 3 these days. I had the privilege of having direct access to one. My good friend Wayne Coleman allowed me use of his, and if you don't mind, I will show you some photos of it. So it's still painted in Dayglow paint. I believe these are hand painted.
That magenta isn't really there.
It kind of is.
Oh, no, I guess it is.
Yeah,
it's a little bit there.
But you don't see the brush strokes. They're not as...
It's not as hand painted looking.
No.
It's almost too perfect.
Yeah, it is. But, I mean, the paint is definitely there. You can feel it. Another thing I wanted to touch on, though, was how these pickguards are created. Okay? So, the circles are hand-painted. You can feel the paint. And the glitter is put on there by hand as well. So, these circles are painted by hand. Everything else is silk-screened onto the pickguard. Again, the glitter is all put on there by hand. Another good shot of that. There's that Daphne blue we were talking about earlier. There's the Grimwood's decal, Sam.
Yeah, what's different about it? I mean, it just looks wrong to me, but can't tell you why.
It's not weathered. Another thing that kind of got me ticked off, actually, maybe they are on the custom shop, but these aren't single line Klusons.
How did it play, Dom?
Beautifully. It was fantastic.
Hi, I'm Paul Waller. I'm with the Fender Custom Shop. I've been here 17 years.
What did you say, 2022, Dom?
Yeah, in 2020 they introduced the custom shop model.
To have access to the original is really the only way to do it properly and then spec it out completely, from diagnosing the pickups and the wiring to getting the neck shape right and being able to make templates off the originals.
Which retailed for $25,000.
Yeah.
But that was right down to every scratch and every ding that the real one has.
It's just really exciting to see, Rocky this up close. They literally took it apart, measured the specs of the pickups and all of that, and
that was at Friar Park too. They wouldn't allow. I'm sure they wouldn't allow them to take it out of it.
Yeah, Danny was nice to let them even do that.
In total, there's something like 17 different colors. Very, very, very challenging. One of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
It's probably one of the coolest Beatle guitars ever. It's so unique and so hard to replicate right.
My question was going to be, is it the guitar that's been used on the most Beatles albums outside of the J160?
It might be.
Is that true?
I think so, yeah.
And it's all over George solo stuff. I mean, that was my closing thought is, think of all the great songs. It's on the album, Sgt. Pepper, I Am the Walrus, My Sweet Lord, Free as a Bird. I mean, it's just... I personally prefer the Sonic Blue look, just plain like this. But just as the sounds he got from it, Drive My Car, it's just incredible.
Yeah, I think it is maybe the most underrated iconic Beatles guitar. I don't have any interest in owning the Rocky with the paint job. Even the Strat I own, I barely use. But Drive My Car, The Word, some of my favorite Beatles guitar sounds are absolutely Rocky. Nowhere Man.
Yeah.
And you can tell it was George's favorite. It was his baby. It's funny to imagine him in his downtime with little paintbrushes, just intricately adding these little touches to it. And I agree. I want to maintain the mystery. Some things should remain mysterious.
Hey.
Look at that.
Well, guys, that I think wraps up Rocky. What do you think?
Danny, if you're listening.
please, I'm going to get on my knees. It's a little too extreme. But yeah, I would love to see a revamp of the George Harrison guitar app. Just for gearhead's sake, for people like us.
And if you want someone to make it, I'm sure we'd all be happy to contribute our time to doing that. If
I do just
files
about
and
anything.
need someone to do it.
Yep,
Take care, guys.
Yeah, and feel free
Thanks
to leave
for
a
watching.
comment about what you think about Rocky.
We will see you on the next one.